Hi guys, how you doing? All right. I'm really disappointed and really angry. Really, I hear that the Philippines is going to receive some AstraZeneca vaccines on Monday from the Covax, which is an initiative of some Western countries, whereby when they have vaccines left over, they are then donated or they are then given to countries, including the Philippines. The issue that I have is this: why, in God's name, or why on earth are the Philippines second best? Why on earth is it right for Western countries to vaccinate all of their citizens, and yet when Western countries have vaccinated all of their citizens and then they have leftovers, if you like, then they are then donated to countries like the Philippines? The West need to understand that the Philippines is one of the biggest suppliers of healthcare workers around the globe, including nurses, doctors, carers, physios, many other medical industries. So here you have Filipino doctors and nurses risking their lives around the planet. Many have died in the US, many have died in the United Kingdom. I believe 80 or even 100 Filipino healthcare workers have died in the UK. And they are then administering vaccines as well to citizens in the UK, to citizens in the US, and to people in the Middle East. And yet it's only when there are vaccines going spare, only when the West has vaccinated all of their own citizens, do they then give out anything they have left over. So really, all the Philippines is getting is leftover vaccines when we've got all of the vaccines, when we've vaccinated all of our own people. Then anything left is given to countries like the Philippines. I think that's really hypocritical. What I don't understand is if the UK bought 320 million COVID vaccines, why didn't the UK think, okay, there's 100 million or so Filipinos, why don't we send 100 million doses of the vaccine immediately to the Philippines to thank them for their contribution to the UK, to thank them for the contribution and sacrifice of the life of hundreds of Filipinos in the UK who've died of COVID-19. I just think it's really hypocritical that the countries who have money, or the countries who have the financial resources to buy up hundreds of millions of doses, buy them up first so there are no doses left for other countries. Why are the lives of Brits, or why are the lives of Westerners any more important whatsoever than the lives of Filipinos? In fact, why is the lives of any citizen of the world any more important than any other citizen? It shouldn't come down to money. The fact is, the Philippines has done so much for us. The Filipino people have done so much for the UK. If it wasn't for Filipino nurses and doctors, many of our hospitals in the UK would be half empty. Many of the NHS hospitals around the London would hardly have any beds staffed. You know, Filipino nurses have been in the UK for the last 30 or so years. When our old British nurses started to retire, or when they got rid of the old system, i.e. nursing schools, the Philippines still has nursing schools, and it's those Filipino nurses who've been with us for such a long time. You know, they are the ones training our British nurses now, and I strongly and firmly believe we owe the Philippines an enormous debt of gratitude. So I'd be really upset and surprised if the Philippines had to pay any money for our vaccines whatsoever. They should get them completely free. Why is it necessary for them to have to take out loans in order to buy vaccines from the UK, when, as I said, the UK government and the UK people owe the Filipino people an enormous debt of gratitude? It shouldn't be about money. It should be about saving lives, saving the lives of the Filipino people. people. We need the Philippines on the global stage. They are a massive contributor towards life in the UK, life in the Middle East, life in America and around the world. And really, I just find it very sad that the AstraZeneca vaccine will only be arriving in the Philippines on the 1st of March. Why did it not arrive in the beginning of January? Why did it not arrive at exactly the same time? Why, for example, are our 60 million UK citizens being given a preference? Why, when the vaccine was being made, why wasn't it the case that they gave half the vaccines to the Philippines, half the vaccines to the UK as they were being made, or half the vaccines to other countries as they were being made? I'm sorry to say this as a British citizen, but I feel absolutely embarrassed that the UK is given priority over a country who does so much for us, i.e. the Philippines and the Filipino people. You know, I appreciate the fact that these vaccines cost money to manufacture. I understand that, but I find it really, really upsetting that Filipinos who've sacrificed their lives, Filipinos in the NHS, have died to save us. And yet in their own country, they can't even get hold of the vaccine before we do. That's all I have to say. Thanks very much. I hope things change. Whilst I am pleased that the AstraZeneca vaccine will finally arrive in the Philippines, I am just disappointed that we at least did not send some doses. Why didn't we send some doses as soon as we got them to maybe our frontline workers or the healthcare workers in the Philippines? Why was it necessary to wait until everyone had been vaccinated in the UK and then the Covax system came into place? Why was it not the policy of the UK government to say vaccinate the healthcare workers, the police, the army in the Philippines, and then of course any spare leftover vaccines, then of course you can send them later? That should have been the policy. I think the policy is entirely wrong, and I think lives have been lost due to this very sad wrong policy. Anyway guys, thanks.